for being here tonight. We're sorry about the delay. We had a very long work session, and if we don't get fed, people get a little crazy, and you never know what's going to happen. So let me find my... Does anyone have an agenda I can use? Thanks, Derek. All right. We're going to start with a Pledge of Allegiance, and if you'll stand with me and join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. There's, for those of you looking for a seat, if you come in the next set of doors, there's a whole bunch of seating in here. And I'm going to review the standards of conduct that we do at the beginning of every one of our meetings. We want to thank you again for being here and welcome you. We appreciate you taking time out of your day to attend your city council meeting, to participate and see your local government at work. To start the meeting, we have some guidelines that we review at every meeting just to keep the decorum and civility that people can feel comfortable with and feel safe to participate. These points are: please be respectful during other people's comments. Avoid cheering or jeering. It can make people feel intimidated. Please also help take care of this historic meeting room by not standing on the furniture or leaning against the decorative pieces like the giant frame in the back of the room. If you have a sign, a prop, or other piece of equipment, video equipment or otherwise, please make sure it doesn't cause a disruption or block other people's views. Signs wider than your chair will display out in the hallway. And please don't approach the dais up here. If you are going to make a comment, you have something you want to pass out to the council, just let us know and a staff member will take that from you and distribute it to us. It also helps not take away from your limited 2 minutes of time to talk to us. Our staff's here to help you. Can you raise your hands? And there's usually more coming in and out of the room. So if you have a question, if you need a comment card that you didn't grab yet, if you need anything, raise your hand and a staff member will come and assist you at any point in the meeting. We also recognize that 2 minutes of comment time may not be long enough for you to get all your thoughts outlined tonight. So please feel free to visit our website at slccouncil.com. That has contact information for all of the council members individually, as well as a single contact that reaches all of us. Also, the contact information sheets that are next to the speaker cards out in the hallway have other ways for you to share your comments with the council by email, phone, or otherwise. So our first item of business is an approval of our work session meeting minutes for Tuesday, February 3rd, 2018, Tuesday, February 20th, 2018, Tuesday, March 20th, 2018, the special work session meeting minutes of Friday, March 9th, 2018, and the formal meeting minutes of Tuesday, April 3rd, 2018.
So moved. Second.
I got a motion by Councilmember Kitchen, a second by Councilmember Johnston. Any discussion to the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And that the approval of our minutes passes. So the council, along with the mayor, would like to consider, or is going to consider adopting a joint resolution that advocates for fossil fuel divestment and ethical banking practices for Salt Lake City Corporation. I'm going to have the privilege of reading that. This Salt Lake City Corporation resolution is a joint resolution advocating for fossil fuel divestment and ethical banking practices to further our climate positive 2040 commitment. It states, whereas Salt Lake City acknowledged in the climate change joint resolution its responsibility for addressing climate change, the risk of expanding fossil fuel infrastructure, and the importance of forging a path forward that protects our economies, societies, and overall well-being. And whereas Salt Lake City has written investment policy under Article 8 of Policy 2.02.05, stating, quote, the city will not directly invest in the fossil fuel industry, end quote. And Whereas the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, fifth assessment report found that global warming is already causing costly disruption of human and natural systems throughout the world, including the melting of Arctic ice, the ocean's rise in acidity, flooding, and drought. And whereas in its Unburnable Carbon report, the Carbon Tracker Initiative found fossil fuel companies possess proven fossil fuel reserves that would release 5 times the amount of carbon emissions that can be released without exceeding the danger level of 2 degrees Celsius of warming, which means governmental regulations must ensure 80% of their reserves stay in the ground. And whereas the Salt Lake City believes investments should be consistent with our values and consistent with our carbon reduction resolution stating emission reduction goals, and whereas Salt Lake City investment funds are legally regulated by the State Money Management Act, which does not provide any environmental, social, government, ESG risk factor analysis or any fossil-free fund choices, and whereas Salt Lake City funds and Salt Lake City bids on contracts may be indirectly supporting the fossil fuel industry, now therefore be it resolved that the Salt Lake City Council and Mayor of Salt Lake City reaffirm the policy of Salt Lake City to not directly invest in the fossil fuel industry. Be it further resolved that the Salt Lake City Council and Mayor of Salt Lake City agree to jointly study an ethical banking policy so that certain socially and environmentally responsible banking practices are considered as bid criteria. And I have this resolution signed by our entire council and Mayor Jackie Biskupski. So with that, I think some people are here because of this, and I want to invite those of you who've worked with us to develop this resolution to come up to the front here, and any council members, all council members, and the mayor to come down, join us, and we'll get a picture.
No, I can change it.
Okay, we're gonna move this way. I want you to move and look this way. All of you swing this way. So the whole time on this way. All we do. Come on. Okay, turn this way. Turn right. So when you're over here, looking over here. Back one to one.
He takes it pretty serious. That's right.
Thank you for that. We're going to move on to item 6 under A6. It's the council and Salt Lake City Fire Department want to recognize Dr. Jennifer Plum and Dr. Sam Plum from Utah Naloxone for their partnership and assistance in providing the community with life-saving naloxone kits. And I want to turn some time over to Chief Lieb. I'm assuming you have something to say. Come on up, please, and take it from here.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Council members, Mayor Biskupski. I appreciate you giving me a little bit of time to conduct this very worthy but brief presentation. Utah is essentially in a war with opioids, as we all know. There's battles being waged in Ogden, St. George, Provo, you name it, and of course right here in Salt Lake City as well. In a country where the rate of overdose death is 175 per day, Utah's rate of overdoses is now 21st in the nation. And that's down from a high of 4th in the nation just four years ago. Over 600 Utahns died of drug overdoses last year alone. Jennifer, I ask you to stand. Sam as well. But there are people who want to change these numbers. People who realize we must take an active role and start advocating for ourselves and others. Dr. Jennifer Plum, Medical Director of the Utah Naloxone Association and Assistant Pediatrics Professor at the University of Utah, and her brother, Sam Plum, Program Manager of the Utah Naloxone Association, are two such people. Salt Lake City Fire Department and Utah Naloxone have been partnering for over a year to provide at no cost on-scene naloxone kits to anyone who wishes to possess one. And this is making a tangible impact on over 800 individuals and families who have received them thus far. We have people calling the public safety building regarding these kits. We have people calling the fire stations. And frankly, we have community members stopping our crews on scene to ask about the kits. This antidote to opioids will not single-handedly cure our addiction epidemic, but will give many people a second chance and the time necessary to find the help that they need. For this, the Salt Lake City Fire Department wants to recognize Jennifer and Sam Plum with the Citizen Medal of Commendation for their ongoing collaboration with our team in an effort to make a difference right here in Salt Lake City. I'd like to ask Medical Division Mike Fox, Chief, who has nominated the Plums for this recognition, to recite the details of their awards. Mike?
Members of the council, Madam Mayor, if I could just add to the chief's words that it's been my pleasure to work with both Sam and Jennifer over the last couple of years. It's been truly humbling to see the professionalism, integrity, dedication, and just selflessness that they've given to this cause. So the language on the certificate is awarded to a citizen for remarkable action through a display of courage and boldness in the presence of a difficult challenge. The citizen took action to save a life or attempt to save a life. Dr. Jennifer Plum and Sam Plum developed Utah Naloxone, an organization dedicated to providing life-saving naloxone kits to members of the community. They have spent countless hours educating the public about the benefits of naloxone and were instrumental in changing state laws to allow access to naloxone for those who need it. In January 2017, Utah Naloxone entered into an agreement with Salt Lake City Fire Department to supply leave-on-scene naloxone kits throughout the community. This partnership was the first of its kind and has been recognized nationally for its life-saving impact within Salt Lake City. Dr. Jennifer Plum and Sam Plum's willingness to take action and their compassion for humanity are commendable and reflect the pride of our Salt Lake City communities. Thank you.
Jennifer Plum, on behalf of Salt Lake City and the Salt Lake City Fire Department, I'd like to award you the Citizen Commendation Medal. On behalf of Salt Lake City and the Salt Lake City Fire Department, I'd like to award you the Citizen Commendation Medal.
No, I was trying to hand it to him.
I would love the opportunity to say a few words. Boy, I was trying not to become a melty mess, and that didn't succeed. I am so grateful to what Salt Lake City Fire Department has empowered us to do, Sam and myself. When we got into this realm, it was an area where there was a lot of discomfort, shall we say. The community didn't want to talk about it. People weren't sure this was okay. And Salt Lake City Fire from day one was there to open doors, to reassure people, to bring law enforcement into the fold. They really gave us the vote of confidence that we needed. And I'm so grateful that they and the city have allowed us to proceed forward, because this has never been about us. This has been about all the families and all the folks that are struggling. And 2,107 lives have been saved in less than 3 years by community members having access to naloxone kits. So very grateful. This partnership has been priceless and precious to me, so thank you. The thanks really is from me to you, so thank you to all of you.
Thank you, council members. I appreciate the time. That concludes our presentation. Absolutely.
Thank you, Chief Lieb. Sure. Okay, I think that's our last photo op of the night. And I failed in my excitement to read the resolution to request that we approve the resolution. Could I get a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion to approve by Councilmember Rogers, a second by Councilmember Johnston. Any discussion to the motion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
And that passes. Thank you. We're back onto the schedule here with item B1 into our public hearings. And our first public hearing, our only public hearing, is around, aside from the general comment, funding our future potential sales tax increase in general obligation bond. And I have a number of cards. We're going to start with Amir Cornell, and followed by Jesh Jotham. Come on up, Amir.
I think they put the wrong subject.
We can hold it if you'd rather.
I'm here tonight to say I approve that 5 cents for every $10 for repairing the streets and such.
Thank
I'll
you.
go for it. Now, I still have 2.5 minutes to go. I'd like to talk about ADU. Before May 1st.
Amir, will you pull your mic up so everyone can hear you? They can't hear you if you,
Oh,
yeah, thank you.
Before May 1st, I would like all of you, take your time, go to each district of yours and check to see the ADU gonna fulfill with the request, the people did. That's all I'm asking you. And next Saturday is gonna be a Salt Lake Marathon. If you even just come to my neighborhood, 27 South, 28 East, I would like you just see the neighborhood. That's all I'm asking you. And I send you an email and I would like you to consider that. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Amir. Jesh Jotham, come on up, followed by Bob Barr.
Greetings. It is written, listen to advice and accept instruction, and in the end, you will be wise. My name is Jeshurun Jotham, and I would like to address the topic of funding our future. On the topic of possible tax for public safety, to provide and ensure safety and prosperity for the police, the public, and the greater community of Salt Lake City. I recommend that we organize classes for the police and citizens to learn, teach, and discuss the following 3 to 4 items: the law given through Moses, Exodus 20 through 23, Leviticus 19, and the book of Deuteronomy. Item 2, the wisdom of King Solomon as recorded in the Proverbs, the Constitution of the United States of America, the first 10 amendments, the Bill of Rights, and as a 4th item, education in the New Testament that is available but not mandatory to ensure justice, fairness, and long-term success for the people of Salt Lake City, and to understand our rights, privileges, and responsibilities as members of the community. May God bless those who are outside this room and those of you who are inside this room.
Thank you, Jeshurun. Bob Barr up next, followed by John B.
Again, I'm here on the sales tax increase. I too am for it. I believe all the issues you brought up are necessary. But I'm actually here to pose a couple of questions. The first is that it says that these funds are going to be used for very specific items, from infrastructure, affordable housing, police, transit needs. Are these funds dedicated to those specific purposes?
This is not the forum for a back and forth.
Okay.
But we can collect your questions and talk to you afterward, and our staff people can also fill you in on the work session we just had where we talked about some of these specifics.
Okay. My next question that I would like you to think about, and I hope has been addressed, is are these funds, if they are not used for the appropriate or the mentioned items, the items that the council and the mayor has used to help promote this to the public, are these funds then going to go to the general fund if at some point the council decides maybe transit isn't as important as we thought it was a while ago? Are the police officers not as important? Are the streets not as important? And if that is the case, I hope you will spend a great deal more time going over this, getting it right. I would hope that you would make it more specific. In other words, we're going after 5% for a variety of items. Why aren't we going after 1% for police, 1% for housing, 1% for this? I think these, if you're not sure
Time.
of the funding, it needs to be thought about some more. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barr. John B. is up next, followed by Tim Funk.
Hi, I'm John B., John Blankevort. I just wanted to make clear that I'm not for the tax. So if I checked it out wrong,
No, you didn't have to indicate what your
okay,
favor
very good.
is.
So we get taxed every year. We sit in front of the council, the board, and we go through our tax review. Our property taxes go up every year. Somebody sits back and says, your property has gone up. And if the property tax doesn't go up, you raise the rate. And the problem has been is that we have no relief on our side. We sit there, it's a frivolous meeting. I don't think anybody has any relief from it. Taxes continue to go up on all levels. And that's been a problem, because over here you've got city police going, crime's going up. But yet, this time last year, we had the city council and also, the county and the city group somehow get together and reduce the arrestability of misdemeanors. And all of a sudden, crime has gone through the roof. 3 days ago, a guy with a screwdriver went through all of our mailboxes. It happens all the time. We're all connected. We see this happen all the time. When we sit in our city council meetings, police officers say there, I cannot arrest this guy breaking into a car because it's not an arrestable offense. So here's the county and the city saying, we're going to lower the misdemeanor. Now, we cannot arrest them, but yet now we need more police officers on the street. It sounds like a racket to me. And then here it is, this $20 million bond. Somebody was going to place a homeless shelter in the middle of Sugar House, and that went down like pitchforks and torches. It was not the right thing to do. You cannot do this kind of thing. The city and the council and making decisions like that behind people's backs is unacceptable. And then we have this crime problem. Why don't you take that $20 million and solve the crime problem? Put the police officers, make it an arrestable offense. Put people in jail for making crimes instead of doing these other frivolous projects. The other thing, we got to fix this survey. The survey you guys put on there is ridiculous. There's double negatives. People don't know what you're talking about. The outcome is almost predicted for what outcomes the city wants to see, and we do not want that. So no taxes.
Thank you, John. Tim Funk is up next, and Tim will be followed by Jim Webster.
Hi. I work for Crossroads Urban Center, as you all know. We've been here many, many times over many, many years. We think this is the very best opportunity we've had for affordable housing in Salt Lake going back to the time 35 years ago, maybe longer, where we had a council and a mayor who both believed that you have to do something about making housing available to the lowest income people in the city. You know the breadth of the problem. You and the mayor have declared a crisis in the city. That's an understatement. If there was ever a statement, it should be broader, it should be deeper what you're doing for housing. 5 million is a good start, 10 would be better. The whole tax increase would be better for housing. You can bond for the other things. You can assign housing $10 million and not hurt anyone's feelings. We think this is a great opportunity to start it and to declare it permanent. $5 million a year will set a precedent. Our Housing Trust Fund has been in existence about 20 years. Some years there's 500,000, some years there's 3 million, but it's never consistent. What we need is consistency, dedication, positivity on the fact that we have so many homeless people, we have so many people who need transitional housing, we have housing needs galore, and this is a small, humble beginning. We're on your side. Charge us the tax, and charge those people who come in and out of the city the tax. It's about time. I live in the city, and I've seen my housing value go up 4 times in 23 years. My house is worth 4 times what it was 23 years ago. And if this tax had been there, if we were paying more property tax or we were paying more sales tax, you wouldn't have the horrible problem you have with housing now. You have to start now and make it a permanent thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Funk. Jim Webster, followed by Cristobal Vegas.
Yeah, I just want to kind of say, I'm Jim Webster, I live in the Yalecrest area. I just want to kind of say that the emphasis is kind of on the wrong syllable here. Where we live, the university traffic is just unbelievable, 100,000 cars a day. There's been very little willingness on the part of the city to address that directly. And I think there's mechanisms and ways to do that. I was on Mayor Dolly Parton, or Dolly Plum was the effective mayor for Ted Wilson in the 70s. I was on the budget committee then, and every year we talked about deferred maintenance on roads, and every year it was deferred. There's got to be a way of finding some sort of equitable position between the university impacts, not only in terms of traffic and deterioration of roads, but also the noise, the lights, and all the other factors that are deleterious to the community, because that facility has just grown without any control, certainly because the city does not have the ability to deal with that. I commend Patrick for his willingness to deal with the noise impact that we'll be having this next coming weekend with the Supercross. But the city has nothing to say about those kinds of things, and I think we need to be more aggressive. The city of Orem, for instance, apparently has a much stronger position with respect to Utah Valley University, and I would hope we could look at that, and maybe that's some kind of a model that we can use to have a little bit stronger say in where these impacts can be resolved. Certainly a fee attached to a parking pass would be a beginning step, make it even less friendly in terms of traffic going to the U every day, and certainly dedicate that money to roads. There's a lot of ways I think we could explore to better serve the community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Webster. Mr. Villegas, followed by Jerry Burgosh. Jennifer. Thank you, both of you.
All right, so my name is Cristobal. Y'all know me, I've been here several times already regarding this issue. Again, I feel very strongly that the allocation of the funds toward the 50 police officers is a terrible error, partly done last year by this city council, and now continuing by this current city council. As we know, the mayor's office only wanted 27 police officers, but y'all will quickly to approve 50 police officers to continue in my opinion, the extreme overburdening on our citizens, particularly those who are marginalized and lower socioeconomic thresholds. So I go to school full-time, I go to work full-time, I do other extracurricular activities. I can't keep coming every Tuesday night here, it's not part of my job, but I want to let you all know that these things are affecting our communities. I don't think the police department right now, as it currently stands, deserves 50 more police officers. I don't think that the citizens here in this city deserve to have 50 more people with guns on our streets, even though many of us stand against people carrying guns or want more gun control. As a citizen of the city, I feel like, and also as a student and a person of color, a queer person of color, I feel that regarding my personal or historical anecdotes of people like me facing police and police violence, I feel in my perspective, this city council and mayor's office is continuing harm toward us. I still don't know, I still haven't received an answer regarding what cultural competency looks like from the police department. I asked them 2 weeks ago, give them my contact info, nothing still. I don't know what de-escalation tactics are used. A national average, 58 hours are spent doing gun practice, but only 8 hours are spent in de-escalation training. Also, as we know, many police officers have bias in their training and toward how they conduct with certain people and certain populations.
Time.
I want to make sure that you are all listening. That's why I developed that handout. Again, I'm a full-time student, full-time person goes to work. I don't have enough time to go and do this. I know it's kind of cheesy, but I really want you all to understand that many of us just don't have the time to come here. It's a privilege for me to come here, and I need you to all understand. So that's why I developed that that handout. So thank you so very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Villegas. Thanks for being with us tonight. Jerry Burgosh is up next, followed by James Berenson.
Hi, I haven't appeared in front of the council in a long time, so I'll introduce myself. I'm Jerry Burgosh. I live at 1961 South Scenic Drive, 84108. I was the founder and the chair for 10 years of the original East Bench Community Council and also the H-Rock Neighborhood Council. I also was the chair of the committee that raised the $2 million from Salt Lake City Open Space and County Open Space for the East Bench Preserve. So I've got a long history of working with the city and some experience in evaluating city proposals. So I had the opportunity to attend the Funding Your Future open house a few weeks ago. And being I only have about 90 seconds left, I'm going to give you my blunt and to-the-point assessment. First, we desperately need to hire the 50 officers. There's no question about that. Second, we need even more dollars put into the improved street conditions, since according to the traffic report or the Department of Transportation, by putting that money in, we will only improve the quality of our streets by 12%. And that's in a 10-year period of time with the funding that you're proposing. It needs even more dollars. Third, the improved streets should get all of the money proposed for the greater housing opportunities and better transit systems, or transit services. All of that money should go to improved streets. I've analyzed the growing Salt Lake City 5-year housing plan that they handed out because I spoke to all the representatives at that open house. The numbers that are in this plan are a joke. With the objectives they have identified, they will never be able to meet that. It will take a lot more funding. As the one gentleman from the Urban Crossroads Center said, it'll take a lot more. So much more that I think they need to go back to the drawing board and re-look at that and come up with a better blueprint. Finally, I think we need to avoid the bait and switch that was done by Mayor Becker's administration a few years ago, where a property tax increase for capital improvements was proposed, but the majority of the money went to salary increases. That is not how transparency works, and hopefully that will not happen again. I urge the council to follow Charlie Luke's suggestions and earmark what that money is going to be funded for, because that's critical. And finally, the last sentence in the flyer that they handed out says that if the general, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burgosh. James Berenson is up next, followed by Michelle McCardell.
Thank you, Commissars, for allowing me to address the Politburo. I see the chairman has finally graced us with their presence. How many of you would consider yourself responsible fiscally? Obviously, none of you. So why should you be in charge of any tax increase that you get off the back of the working class people? I would like to know what happened to all the money that the state budget has given to you guys the past couple years for road maintenance. Where has that money gone? Because the cities or the streets I drive on, I ride the bus on, very few of them have like no potholes, things like that. So where did that money go that you guys get allocated in your budget? $237 million, but you're $1 million short this year. You guys need to stop relying on the backs of the taxpayers and, earn some fiscal responsibility on how to better manage your money. I have no one I can tax if I run out of money. What entitles you tyrants to rule over your fiefdoms and just decide this is the way it's going to be? We can't spend money in a responsible way, but oh look, we can increase the taxes on the taxpayers. They'll cover our flops. That is so wrong on so many levels. I highly suspect that this was in a transparent setting, but you guys have probably already made up your mind, just like the homeless shelter that was going to be put on Simpson. It wasn't like that decision was made behind closed doors. No, that's not it. I highly suggest you divert from the Cloward and Piven tactics to try and bankrupt the people in the government to bring in your progressive utopia. Speaking of progressive utopia, can anyone explain what that looks like? These steps you take just push us farther there. I'm a big believer of small government, self-governance even. There was a wise man called Thomas Jefferson, and he stated, when the government fears the people, there is liberty. When the people fear the government, there is tyranny. He also said when tyranny, the time is 4 minutes to 8. He
Mr.
also said,
Berenson, you know your
when
time's
tyranny
up.
becomes law, rebellion is necessary, and it looks very clear like tyranny is becoming law.
Thanks, Mr. Berenson. Michelle McCardell is next, followed by Mitch Ring, and Mitch Ring's card is the last card I have on this subject, so if you want to speak, raise your hand, we'll bring you a comment card. We have time for whoever wants to speak.
Great. City Council, Mayor, thanks for having all of us here. I am Michelle McCardle. Some of you know me, some of you don't care to know me. That's good too. As far as housing and tax increase, I'm actually all for it. I'll double it, personally. I am middle class, so if anyone says, oh, or working class, that's me, that's my family. Issues I have with this, though, are, one, we have a major university in Salt Lake City. We have a community college that resides at the South Campus, which is partially in the city. We have 3 incredible public high schools in the city. Let's use those brains, because those guys are a lot smarter than I am anymore, and let's ask these kids, hey, you guys need internship paper, internship credits. What can you guys do? Help us study. What can we do to increase road construction at a cheaper rate instead of just putting out another RFI and getting the cheapest bid so that we run into more potholes 2 years down the road? What can we use instead? Why aren't we actually looking at different types of solutions rather than just, hey, let's fix roads? Let's use some brains and get these people on board. It gives them life experience. As far as police officers, do we need more police officers? I don't know. I mean, I've got 50 police officers that drive by my street 20 times a day. I know most of them by name, not because I'm a bad person necessarily, but because they're patrolling the streets. I feel like they're doing their job. The problem is they can't arrest somebody if there's nowhere to put them. And arresting somebody because they sold, an ounce of marijuana, big deal. They take them to jail, they get out tomorrow, they arrest them again, they take them to jail, they get out. These people get bench warrants and go nowhere, and it's a continuation of a bad cycle. So
Time.
let's study the how to fix the crime.
Thank you, Ms. McCardell. Mitch Ring is up next, followed by Kyle Canty.
Hi, my name is Mitch Ring. I attended Massachusetts Institute of Technology, getting a bachelor's in mechanical engineering. Life events forced me to be what's called a health nut. Unfortunately, my stepdad died when he was 38. Another stepdad died when he was 62. My dad died when he was 57. I had cancer when I was 21. I spend 5 to 7 hours a week reading health and nutrition articles. Unfortunately, there's a health problem we've overlooked, and it's something a city should address because you bill people for water. Unfortunately, our water violates EPA requirements on 3 carcinogenic elements and poisonous: arsenic, hexavalent chromium, and other radioactive elements. And I think, considering it's one of the primary services that the city provides, we should come up with a solution. And obviously, cost is part of it, and I think just bill it as part of it. Bill it as part of the monthly water bill. I should also mention I spent 8 years working as a paralegal for lawyer and state representative District 43, Earl Tanner Jr. After serving there, unfortunately, I had friction with a landlord. This is a second item. I'm changing topics. I had friction with a landlord. They broke state law. They changed the locks on me, even though rent was fully paid. They stole my car. They ordered a tow truck to steal my car. I caught the tow truck driver at 1:30 in the morning and maced him. I didn't know which spot was appropriately mine in this condo complex. And I was charged with assault. I saw 12 constitutional rights broken as I went through this process. The most recent, I was having a tough time, my publicly appointed defender actually destroyed exculpatory evidence.
Time.
Okay. I'll be sending an email to a state rep or to my city councilman asking for changes.
Thank you, Mr. Ring. Got Kyle Canty up next, and Kyle's card is the last one I have. So again, if you want to speak to this item, raise your hand, we'll get a card into your hands. Please go ahead, Mr. Canty.
Hello, so my name is Kyle Canty. I am the lawyer. I speak one language, and that's law. Absolutely no to sales tax increase. I've seen this happen before. It's not going to work. I'm actually here to actually talk to the mayor. I sent Simone Butler email. She chose not to respond. There is going to be a lawsuit against the city. I speak one language, and that's law. So at this point, a lot of the ideas are not going to work. I'm actually coming from Seattle. I've only been here 12 days. Your homeless plan is not going to work. I'm currently homeless. I'm a photographer. It's absolutely not going to work. Seattle has done the same thing. It's failed miserably. That's why I'm here. So you're going to go through gentrification. The mayor's fully aware of the city is not going to be affordable for anyone. In about 4 years, no one's going to be able to afford it to live here. It's already happening now. Seattle has actually done the same thing, and this is why I'm here. There's video I am going to release dealing with the issue that happened to me. I don't think this forum is correct. I think I'm going to be speaking after this. But just know sales increase is not going to work. I've actually met with the chief of police, Mike Brown. I just met with the assistant fire chief. You guys have it all wrong. I actually can help you get it right. That's what I'm going to say on this topic. I will wait to the next topic to speak about the rest of the stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Canty. Chris Robinson is up next, followed by Matt Romsel. Please correct me on your last name, Matt. Chris.
Hi, my name's Chris Robinson. You should know me very well by face. I've campaigned for both of you. It's my husband, Gary. Gary and I live at 113 East Wilson Avenue. We have lived there since June of 1986. We live just to the east of the Capitol Motel homeless shelter, opened 1 week ago with little fanfare and no notice to nearby residents. In February, we went to the Liberty Wells Community Council and saw a presentation by the City Housing Authority showing that they're going to build a 4-story low-income housing building virtually surrounding our property in 2020, and that will effectively block our access to sunlight, which will kill our solar. When we contacted people here at the city, we were told it wasn't time for us to know anything about these plans. I say it's too late. When we voted, we thought we voted for open government. Apparently, we were wrong. Our neighbors, unless we've spoken with them, do not know anything about this. This is wrong.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Matt Ramsell, and followed by Megan Kimberly. Did I get it wrong, Matt?
Good evening. It's Ram Rel, but I have terrible
Ramrel.
handwriting, so.
Thank you.
I'm going to be brief. I live in District 4, and I just wanted to share my thoughts that somehow the City Council and the Mayor's Office believe that we need 50 more police officers. We are already per capita one of the most policed cities in the United States, and actually, if you include small towns, Bountiful is the most policed per capita place in the United States. There's also no proof in any studies that more police make streets safer or even cleaner. And in a city concerned about gun control and getting more guns off the streets, you want to put 50 more on the streets. If you've been paying attention, there have been 2 people killed by police in the last 2 weeks. I know they were both West Valley, but if you add 50 more police officers to Salt Lake City, you're going to start seeing something like Baltimore or Sacramento. So if we want to be a progressive city, adding more police officers is not the correct way to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rumrell. Megan Kimberly is now the last card that I have on this subject. So if you want to speak to the funding our future item, raise your hand. We'll get a comment card in your hand.
Hi there, Megan. I wasn't planning on speaking today. Do I go? Sorry. And I've never done this before, so, but I thought it was a pretty interesting topic. And that would affect me. So I live downtown and love to use the bike lanes and public transport, and so I appreciate where these funds with the tax increase will go. I do agree with some of the other people that have been speaking that it's good to be transparent about where that funding will go. My only concern with just a blanket tax increase is that it does affect people of lower SES, socioeconomic status, or with fixed incomes, and so that's just something to consider. And then something, I'm not a Utah native, but at my home state in Texas, there's a thing called tax holidays. I don't know if that's something you guys have ever considered. It usually happens one weekend of the year, and usually around the start of a new school year. So it really helps people with clothing purchases, school supplies, those things. A lot of states implement this, but maybe something to consider as, taxes will only increase. So just my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you for coming up for the first time to the city council meeting. That was the last card I have on this public hearing. We do have a general comment public hearing coming up still, so I will look for a motion.
I move that the council close the public hearing and defer action to the May 1st council meeting.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Kitchen, a second by Councilmember Rogers, was it? Any discussion to this motion? If I may take a moment for the discussion's sake to let you all know that the council had a pretty extended discussion earlier today at our work session about some of the specifics. Some people spoke about specifics tonight. We went into the weeds a bit about where exactly this funding can go. And at our May 1st work session, we will continue that discussion with an intention to tie up those decisions and take a vote on May 1st. And I will say that for me personally, and I think for many of us, that binding that money in as much as we can bind future councils and administrations is a priority for us. And we've all heard and share in the commitment to address the needs that we're talking about addressing and to do that into the future. So May 1st, feel free to come back. That work session discussion is always live on Channel 17, or you're welcome to come sit in the room. But we'll be back here on May 1st to take a vote on that as well. So all those in favor of closing the public hearing? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. The public hearing's closed, and we'll look for action on May 1st. We're on to item C1, our potential action items. An ordinance adopting a supplemental I'm sorry, I think I have an old agenda here.
We didn't pull it from the agenda because you don't have
That's
to pull it,
right.
you can just defer action.
Then, so we should take action and just defer it, or we can table it? Great. Let's just move on. We're, as I said, deferring that discussion till May 1st to item C2, which is a resolution regarding the interlocal agreement amendment for locating the Salt Lake City Prosecutor's Office in the Salt Lake County District Attorney's Office. I'll look for a motion. Or not.
All right. Madam Chair, I move the council adopt a resolution authorizing the approval of an amended and restated interlocal agreement between Salt Lake City and Salt Lake County for management of the city prosecutor's office.
Second.
Excuse me, I have a motion by Councilmember Johnston, a second by Councilmember Kitchen. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. We're on to item C3, an ordinance for budget amendment number 4 for fiscal year 2017-18. I'll look for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move the council adopt an ordinance amending the final budget for Salt Lake City for fiscal year 2017-2018 as proposed by the administration, except for One, adjusting item A3, 1300 East reconstruction to use $239,797 in streets impact fees, $378,270 in repurposed state funds, and $1.5 million in Class C funds. And two, release the contingent appropriation of $469,598 in the existing IMS budget.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Kitchen, a second by Councilmember Johnston. Is there any discussion to this budget amendment?
I just would like to say it's nice to see us leveraging our priorities and additional funds. It's smart government, feels good.
Anything else on that item? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that budget amendment passes. We're on to item C4, the ordinance for Meadowlark Elementary School zoning map amendment.
I move the council adopt an ordinance rezoning the parcel located at approximately 505 North Morton Drive from R1 5000 to PL, which is public lands.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Rogers, second by Councilmember Johnston. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that one passes on to C5, a resolution for the one-year action plan for community development block grant and other federal grants for fiscal year 2018-19.
Madam Chair, I move the council approve the attached appropriations resolution adopting the one-year action plan for FY 2018-2019 and allocate FY 2018-2019 CDBG, ESG, home, and HOPWA funds except for the ESG emergency shelter, item 3.
Second.
And we should vote on that and then recuse and then vote on the second. Thank you. I have a motion by Councilmember Kitchen with a second by Councilmember Wharton. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That one passes.
I recuse myself at this point.
Thank you. We'll
And
wait
a
till Councilmember Johnston leaves the room.
I have a second motion here. I move the council approve the attached appropriations resolution allocating FY 2018-2019 funding for ESG emergency shelter, item 3, VOA Homeless Youth Resource Center.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Kitchen, second by Councilmember Rogers. Any discussion to this motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That one passes, and we'll invite Councilmember Johnston to come back in. And that takes us on to Section D, comments. Do we have any questions for the mayor from the city council? Thank you for being with us tonight. Any questions, council members? Okay, then we have Section D2, where we get to receive comments from anybody in the audience to the city council. As with all the other public hearings, you get 2 minutes to speak. And we shall hear from Jeshurun Jotham again, and then Cristobal Villegas after that. But it looks like Mr. Jotham may have left. Okay. Well, if he comes back, we can reorient him. Mr. Villegas, would you like to speak with us, followed by Kyle Canty?
All right. Well, once again, thank you very much for allowing me to speak. I know I get to have 2 opportunities to come and address you all, so thank you so very much. I wanted to leave the meeting in saying thank you so much for all you do. I know the funds aren't going the way I want to, but that's fine, I'm not up there. But I do appreciate that there are certain parts to the city where y'all still caring for regarding the budget, but also just in general. I do appreciate the hard work y'all have been doing thus far. But just know that a lot of us are definitely keeping tracks. And I do hope that you all continue to fight for what's good in whatever relative terms that may mean. But I do appreciate you as both living once in Rose Park, now living on Capitol Hill, and just being active in civics. I think it's important that many of us continue to have discussion. I think it's also important, from one thing I suggest, is to have more interactions with us, not us coming to you all, but coming to us as well. I know you all did a lot with the budget, and I do appreciate that. I saw the report that came in, and I did like how it was broken up, all the different community meetings y'all had, all the different meetings in general y'all had. But as a person who also is trying to make a life here in this area, I would like just more feedback with other people here in the city, more talking just about general issues as well. Because Tuesday nights are very difficult for all of us, especially since it's finals week and everything for many of us. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Vegas. Kyle Canty, and Kyle will be followed by Dave Iltis.
So this is the real reason why I'm here. This is actually the first time I've come to a council meeting. I've actually come to set up a meeting with the mayor, and I was informed to do that through Simone Butler, but Simone Butler will not answer her cell phone, and she hasn't returned my text. So there's some video footage that I'm actually getting ready to release with my counterpart. I believe his name is Taylor W. Anderson. He is with the Salt Lake Tribune. I was discriminated against right here at the downtown city library. Basically, I needed to do number 2. I was kicked out of the library, and it's all on video. I was kicked out of the downtown Salt Lake City Library for trying to use the bathroom. This is the most ridiculous thing that I've ever recorded in my life. I'm furious at this. Under 42 USC 1983, a lawsuit will be brought against the city for human rights violations, constitutional rights violations, and if you guys choose to ignore it, I am the lawyer. I don't need a lawyer. I'm going to sue the city for this. It's total humiliation, and it's several issues dealing with discrimination in this city. And I came by accident to this meeting. Sure enough, I was trying to get a meeting with you, and here you are, Mayor. I'm actually trying to set up this meeting with you. I will be glad to stay to discuss and show you the video. The videos are in my phone. And this is a very serious situation, and I shouldn't have been treated like this. And there's also signs posted in the library saying, please limit your bathroom use to 5 minutes. This is unconstitutional. I'm pissed off. I've only been here for 12 days in your city and in your state. And that's what I want to say. It's all legal action from here on out. Bottom line.
Thank you, Mr. Canty. Dave Iltis is up next, followed by James Berenson.
Hi, my name's Dave Iltis. I'm from Salt Lake City and from Cycling Utah. I came to speak on the bike license overhaul that you're going to be voting on, potentially voting on shortly. Notice that you did not have a public hearing on this. I think the ordinance is generally good. It's a well-needed change. It's something that might improve licensing. Our current system is completely and utterly broken, so overhauling it is a good thing. There are a number of potential problems, however. In the past, when I was chair of the Mayor's Bicycle Advisory Committee, we would get reports of the requirement for licenses being used to confiscate bikes en masse at the homeless shelter. So we'd get reports that 50 bikes were confiscated and rounded up and taken off to the police department because they did not have licenses. Some were taken off even if they did have licenses. This has been a good 8 to 10 years since this has occurred, but it's something to be wary of in the future. Please pass this. I think you should pass this, but you need to monitor this over the course of the next year and get a solid report back from the police department as to how this is being used in terms of the enforcement of not having a license. Additionally, the system that's being proposed for the electronic registration, my contacts who do this for a living that run a nonprofit website called Bike Index do not think very much of the system that the police department is proposing to use. The system that gets put into place won't address e-bikes because there's a conflict in state law about that. E-bikes are rising. There is the need to have the system fit in regionally and nationally, and also to have public information available so that the public can help to recover bikes. So again, please pass this. And then very quickly on the Funding Our Future, It still needs a vision. There is no vision. Please add the trails plan and recreation, comprehensive transportation, and please fully fund the bicycle pedestrian master plan. And lastly, still
Time.
no action on
Thanks,
street
Mr.
lights.
Iltis.
Thank you.
James Berenson, followed by Sylvia Nibley.
Commissars. There's a saying, I don't know if it actually holds any legal weight, but it's called taxation without representation. Mr. Luke, who I haven't been able to catch, you know, I know who he represents. The interaction he had with Goldman Sachs, he came away, and I swear there was brown stuff on his nose. That's who he represents. He doesn't represent me. I asked for help. Where is he? Nowhere to be seen. This gentleman, the District 1 commissar, he was nice enough to help me, but it was a wild goose chase which got me nowhere. I'm just saying, this is taxation without representation, because I don't know who you guys represent, but it's not we, the people, that our backs are breaking because you just feel willy-nilly to place more burdens on us and tax us. That one gentleman, I think he had it right. All these apartment buildings and stuff are going up all over the city. Hardly any of them are filled. Who's going to live there? Oh, wait, the mayor's grand plan to bankrupt everyone. This sounds like progressive/socialist program here. It makes sense now. You guys want to save money? Stop putting fluoride in the water. CNN had an article about fluoride in pregnant women, and it makes them, the young and in there, have lower IQs. I handed you guys all, well, not you because you weren't there when I handed it out, the study from Harvard. Not Okie Doke Middle School, but Harvard, that says fluoride messes up people's head. You want to save money? Stop buying the chemicals. Stop paying for protection. $168,000 for another bodyguard and a chauffeur? That's ridiculous. I have no bodyguard. I get around just fine. I have no chauffeur, and I can get around fine. But I'm sure your phone is more important than what the people are saying. Got to kiss more corporate behinds. I've sent a letter to Jeff Sessions to investigate the corruption here that I see.
Thanks for wrapping
injustice.
up, Mr. Berenson.
You know what? You have not provided me evidence that your powers can supersede that of God. We all have God-given rights in the Declaration of Independence. I am not here from some other country. I was
Time is
born
up.
here. I'm an American citizen. I have the freedom of speech. You have no authority to dictate what my speech is.
Mr. Berenson, you know your time's up.
Yeah, I know, because I allow you to take it from me.
Thank you.
I'm not done.
Sylvia
The
Nibley
police,
is up next.
as far as the police go, I applaud them. They do a good job. I think with more of them out there, there'd be less crime.
Mr.
The
Berenson, I
people that
really
don't like the
encourage you to
police,
just walk
They should
away.
stop breaking the law. Then they would have no interaction with the police.
I encourage you to walk away at this point.
What are you going to do, 86 me from a public building? My tax dollars help pay for the maintenance of this.
We
You're going to
have
throw me out of a
2
building
minutes.
that is public property
Everyone
because I
gets
am
2 minutes.
speaking. Freedom of speech. Imagine that. What a novel idea.
We're asking you to step down.
I ask for a lot of things. I get none. What makes you more entitled than me?
Would you like to be removed from the building?
Do what you guys got to do.
Okay.
I'll stand my ground.
Thank you, Jeff.
I'll stand my ground. That's a state
We
law.
don't want it to be that
You
way.
put hands on me, I'll stand my ground.
We don't want it to be that way.
You know what? These people didn't, nobody made them run for this job. This is part of their job. They voluntarily said, I want to do this. If they don't allow the people enough time to speak, that is wrong because they don't want to be inconvenienced.
I think the concern is if everybody had an unlimited amount of time, the meeting would
2 minutes, man.
I know.
People down in Texas, in Austin, Texas, they get 5 minutes.
And I think there's some meetings that might have only a minute, and that's the rule that we have here. And so just understand, there's a lot of people here, and they're receptive to your comments.
Ms. Nibley, thank you. And Sylvia Nibley's card is the last one I have for the general comment. If you want to speak, raise your hand, we'll bring you a card. If you
Thank
haven't
you.
already spoken. Thanks.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Sylvia Nibley. I'm a resident of Salt Lake City and the founder of the Warm Springs Alliance. We are a nonprofit formed to protect the Warm Springs landmark site and hot springs, preserve the Wasatch Plunge building at 840 North Beck Street, and reestablish its role as a public gathering place that serves the whole community. As you may already know, the city's consideration of the proposal for residential development at Warm Springs ended last week. And on behalf of the thousands who strongly opposed that direction, I want to thank the members of city government who included the Alliance in that conversation and for hearing the desires of the community. We'd also like to thank the mayor for opposing that development and the members of the council who have been supportive of our efforts to protect Warm Springs. Now that the RFP process is complete, we join the city in looking forward to starting fresh and sharing what we've learned about viable alternatives for this singular landmark. We especially thank Chris Wharton for his support and Aaron Mendenhall for suggesting that the city consider including some funds in the budget to assess the condition of several historic, vacant, city-owned properties with potential to serve the community. So the list compiled by the Warm Springs Alliance in collaboration with Preservation Utah includes the Wasatch Plunge, the Utah Theater, Salt Lake City 29th Ward, 10th East Senior Center, and possibly the Fisher Mansion. A minimal investment will provide the information needed to utilize these properties as community assets. So the Alliance and many citizens stand ready to support these assessments, and we look forward to positive collaboration and problem solving for many years to come. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Nibley. That's the final card I have for the public comment section. That will take us on to E, which we have no new business to address, and item F, unfinished business. F1 is the resolution for the Parley's Point ordinance extension. And I'll look for a motion.
Madam Chair. Extending the time period for satisfying the conditions set forth in ordinance number 24 of 2006 by 4 years to May 10th, 2022.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Rogers and a second by Councilmember Johnston. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That one passes. We're on to F2, the ordinance for bicycle licensing ordinance amendments. I'll look for a motion.
Madam Chair. I move the council adopt an ordinance amending Salt Lake City's code relating to registration of bicycles sold in Salt Lake City.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Johnston, a second by Councilmember Rogers. Any discussion? Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, Madam Chair, if we could. Thanks for the comments on that. I think we will want to look into enforcement and how it'll be applied. But I like the change in a positive way.
Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And we've got better bicycle licensing amendments now, or methods. We're moving on to G, the consent agenda, and I'll look for a motion there.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Kitchen, second by Councilmember Rogers. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And that passes. Before we go, we skipped announcements in our work session, so if we could just receive those now. Thank you.
Margaret told me to tell you guys about the weather, but I'm going to go to the actual announcements.
To tell us about what?
Oh, about the weather in Minneapolis actually is an announcement. Sorry about that.
It's unseasonable, I
The Envision
hear.
Utah 2018 Spring Breakfast. The topic is what makes a global trade center successful. There's a few council members that have accepted, and the cost to purchase a table is $600 if 10 people want to go. So periodically we check in with the council to see if you would rather purchase a table or just individual tickets for the event. So.
Is it only individual council members that want to go, or there's staff or
There's-
administration staff?
There's
that are
2
attending?
council members and 2 staff people that have currently registered. So at this point, it wouldn't make sense to buy a table unless more were interested, but it is Wednesday, May 23rd at 7:30 a.m. This is the Envision Utah 2018 Spring Breakfast.
Do we know if the mayor's office has anyone going? They could split a table.
We could,
Pull a mic up, Patrick.
we'll
if
check
you-
in with the mayor's
Okay.
office and get back to you guys.
Okay.
Since we have a few weeks to figure it out. Okay, then the next item is for the Mosquito Abatement Board. There are 3 vacant vacancies and 4 eligible applicants to fill those vacancies. In the past, the council has had a subcommittee to vet the interested applicants and make a recommendation to the council. The materials on these applicants were provided to you in your confidential session materials. So how would the council like to proceed appointing these? Three of the 4 applicants are current board members that are interested in reappointments.
And they've already only served 1 term, right?
One of them has served 2, but is also interested in a reappointment. I guess there is a policy that serving 2 terms can't be the only basis for denying the application. They're governed by a separate section in state code that supersedes the policy of the council. Is that right?
When is their next meeting, and do they have enough for a quorum if that was the case? Do they have enough for a quorum if?
I haven't specifically asked that question. If I remember correctly, they have between 5 and 7 members. And so they need at least the 2 who are eligible for reappointment to continue serving until the council makes a decision about.
Madam Chair, because they were confidential, we didn't get them till today. Are you okay if we read them, go over them, and then discuss it May 1st?
Absolutely.
So
You
plan
okay
on-
with that?
Yeah, no,
rest
the
of
As a
council?
body, you mean, or as a subcommittee?
Well, I wondered if we could review them individually as they've been shared with us and submit our individual choices for those appointments and see where
To
we have a
staff?
majority.
Submit to,
Yep, that was
Okay.
that motion.
Can we ask for that to be homework and
so
that
submit
we
to staff?
You can return your confidential packet with any notes on it to staff on May 1st at our next council meeting.
I like it.
Okay.
That'll keep us out of a subcommittee. Great.
And then literally the weather in Minneapolis is partly cloudy with temperatures of the 40s in the day and the 20s at night. Plan ahead.
Thank you. And
We have
with
a lot of
that,
snow.
we are done.